Now that is a freaking mutter. That is the race I wanted to see last weekend. I didn't want to see this floundering. We're going to roll. We're going to take out the whoops. Like, that was cool. It shook stuff up. You know, Jett got lapped. This time, it was Tomac and Sexton that got lapped. And there's so much going on. I'm so hyped up. I'm drinking freaking some $4 waters. Oh, man, it is not as good as how much it costs. And then I'm out of Costco cookies, so I had to freaking make some brownies. But, dude, I know how to set that sucker. I think it's $3.25 is the stove. You need to have, like, what, a whole cup of olive oil, maybe 1 egg, and then a cup, maybe a cup and a half of water. I don't know. Maybe I don't know how to make brownies that well, but damn, I sure eat freaking a lot of effing brownies. What a gnarly race. And of course, we've got the GNC rider, right? AP, that gets redemption. Oh my God. I literally cried from Detroit. I was heartbroken for somebody because you don't get that many opportunities. You do not get that many opportunities. There's sometimes there's things that are worse than death, and it's having those type of opportunities slip away from you, where you have to live with the repercussions of not winning a 450 Premier Class Supercross race, being the best rider in the world on that weekend, especially when you lead 20 laps before. I was so pumped, and I had a freaking feeling in the heat race, because this guy was doing a sections that riders were not doing. Make sure you hit subscribe. I've got good videos planned this week. I have so many notes. For those of you that are on Patreon, I'll upload those. However, in the heat race, you could see just something was different about AP. He was jumping things that other riders were not doing. They eventually started to take his lines, because obvious there's some dude that's doing better than you. You've got all these big guys. If you look at some of the big teams, they've got special mark-off places in the stands where they've got big cameras set up so that they can literally video roll different guys so that you can go back to the tent and go, hey, Sexton, you're not doing that triple quad sucker. Or did you see Sexton, Jett crash in press where he went double quad? I'll talk about that too, because that was just overconfidence. I couldn't believe that you even went for a double quad. That just tells you that somebody was trying to get into everyone's mind by going, hey, look, guys, I can do shit on the track that you guys can only dream about doing. There's massive hits like he did the weekend before, where he went quad, and then what's after quad 5? Quintuplet, maybe that's what it is. Somebody's gonna correct me in in the comments below, because I can't freaking count either. You know, darn motorcycles, you hit your head long enough, you start talking. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not even gonna say it. But holy freaking cow. And really what separated him from the other riders, especially in the main, was his whoop speed. And he was also in the back section where a lot of riders were not even jumping on top of a table. He was jumping over the table, and it made up so much time. And if I'm going to pause right here, because we're at the beginning of the video, there might be somebody that is in trouble. And who is it that is in trouble? Who's going on probation again? Jason Anderson is going on probation. It's not Freeze, and it's not Bam Bam. It's Jason Anderson. Here, let's look at this. Do I even have the? Oh, yep. Look.
And then we'll look at the top of the screen here. Jett Lawrence wants to.
And I'll tell you why.
Jason
like in my
Anderson,
videos, I'll show it too.
And Anderson does not like what Lawrence is saying. Okay, so a difference of opinion, and
I'll tell you what Jett is saying right here. Jett is saying, dude, why the heck are you blocking me? Why are you cross-jumping me? Why did you brake check me? Yes, if you didn't see it, he did, in fact, brake checked him. But I was over there going, yeah, finally I see a brake check since Jeremy McGrath in 2002. And Jett, you're not supposed to brake check him. He's got the purple plate. Not supposed to do that. But you don't get into altercation with Jason Anderson, because he's going to just do this.
Whoa, 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 look at this.
There we go.
Oh, okay.
And then you've got AP over here celebrating. It just, this season, there were only 3 races in. It doesn't get any better than this, right? We're going to see a penalty report that gets released in, I don't know, 3 days from now, 72 hours. That's going to say Jason Anderson is fined and maybe loses maybe a position from doing something like that. Yeah, he put hands on somebody, but if you're going to do something like this, I mean, there's much worse things that have happened with people hitting each other with helmets and blah, blah, blah. We just could talk about the freeze stuff here. But I personally, this thing is going, hey, some explicit words inserted. If you're not fast enough to get around me, that is your problem. I'm covering my line. I'm doing the thing. Jason Anderson is an incredibly smooth rider, and he's not somebody that really puts you in a predicament to make you crash, where Barcia, he puts you in a situation where you have to play a little bit careful around where you're going to pass this guy. Kenny knows, hey, if you're going to pass certain people, you need to make sure that it sticks and it's clean. And if I'm switching topics here for just a second, but make sure you let me know in the comments below what you think of putting hands on somebody. This is excellent content. Absolutely excellent content.
Look at this.
And this is where Jett could have easily just dropped the bike and then just jumped on Jason. But if we're supposed to do any sports betting, I would bet on Jason Anderson right here rather than Jett. If it was a quad challenge, it would go to Jett for sure, but in a fist fight, it's going to Jason. He's got his shirt probably untucked right here. He's already halfway ready. It's basically gloves are off. That was good stuff. So AJ, I appreciate you doing. Oh, here we just gotta. I'm gonna get demonetized by showing it, but here we've got some other track violations that I want to talk about for the 250 class. But man, if I'm switching gears just a little bit to Kenny should have won that main event. He abso-effing-lutely should have won that main event. He was by far the smoothest rider. Unfortunately, there was one dude that is good in mud, and his name is Aaron, and he was coming. And as soon as he was getting close, he was putting pressure on Kenny. Kenny made a mistake and went down. But Kenny ultimately did the smart thing after the fact because he pulled off the track, and his Suzuki, for one, didn't have an electric start, so that's going to be a meme this week. He had to have his mechanic twist his bike. So good for Kenny, because at that point, he should have just potentially, I know a lot of other riders that would have just pulled off, gone into the pits, been like, hey, my check is clearing, whatever. But A, he wants to win. He wants to win, and he knows it's a consistency thing. With 17 rounds, there is a lot of racing ahead. So he got back on the track, even though he was being lapped and he was running outside of the top 10, but he was keeping himself safe. A much younger Kenny would have continued to push and ride and put himself at jeopardy to have these gnarly ruts because the track, yes, it was very slippery. However, it dried out a bit, and 2 inches underneath there, it was very hard packed. So I wonder what their setups were like, because give it up to the track designers and the track crew because they did not change the track. Well, okay, they did, all right, but it was also changed during press day because right before the finish line, that was supposed to be a wheel tap triple, but they made that into the checkup jump. And then after the start, it was supposed to be the checkup jump. They switched them, which I thought was smart because we didn't want to see what happened at A1 again, where you saw these guys hit a checkup jump in third gear and end up endoing. We don't want to see that anyway, but there's been so much already tribulations for the Supercross series, and it's only race 3. And man, I was super bummed hearing about a mutter happening. And now I'm freaking stoked that we had a mutter. It's redemption for AP. But Kenny was smart by making sure that he turned those handlebars or the triple clamps straight, because if that front wheel is tweaked and you're jumping in through these ruts, man, you're setting yourself up for a giant mistake. And oh my gosh, when AP lapped Tomac had a great strategy where he didn't just stop racing. This is somebody that you can tell that he's been around the block for a while, because he's arguably would have been fast enough to pass AP, but he's not going to pass AP, ruin the race, because he hates it when people do that kind of stuff to him. But he was close enough. He stayed with him, because you know what happens with the guy that's out front? Everyone else gets the blue flag. And if you're just been lapped, well, these guys are getting out of your way, just like you got sirens on, so you can make up some more points. So Tomac is playing the long game. But then once Webb caught up to him, well, you know, it's still a team sport. So he kind of sets over and says, okay, if I can't win, I'd like to see my teammate win. Even though those guys may or may not be that close of friends, because they train so differently between guy in Florida and guy in Colorado. Totally different atmospheres, the whole bits. But you know what was interesting is when Webb caught up to Sexton, where you have two KTMs. And I don't want to like put anything out there, but man, it looked like somebody did not get out of the way to make AP potentially get that. Like, that is a good teammate, where a week ago, you've got Club MX with Marchbanks and Phil Nicoletti, where you're just like, man, let Phil get on the podium. Just let him get on the podium. It's going to make his high life of his racing career of the last 45 years. It's a joke, Phil. I know you're not that old. But, he didn't get it. He did not get it. But guess what Sexton helped with? Sexton abso-effing-lutely helped AP get that win, because he went way outside towards that wheel tap jump, but nobody was doing it because of the mud. And he instantly got into the line that was on the inside where they came together and almost took out Coop. But that was enough for Coop to go from 1 second to about 6 seconds behind. And that's would have created some sort of altercation as well, where potentially there was some talk like this going on between Sexton and Cooper Webb. I would assume something like this. But no, I don't want to show it anymore because I've already done it enough. All right. If I'm talking enough about the 450s, let me just take a little bit of time for the 250s. And Thrasher won. I did not suspect that to happen at all. And truthfully, like, I've lost faith in saying next week that RJ's going to win, because if you look at Smith to RJ, consistency versus raw speed, RJ, I don't know what sort of voodoo magic is going on with him, but every time he has a clear track and he set up himself for success, it all falls apart. It did it in the heat race, and it also did it in the main event. But backing up to the heat race, Thrasher was off the track in the whoops, and you had Joe Shimoda crash, right? Yes, I'm speculating a little bit because the rules are written a certain way where it says, hey, track cut, gaining an unfair advantage, you lose your position or you gain +1, right? And that's the first offense. I want to say Thrasher gained a position because Joe fell down after Thrasher was already off the track. Okay, that's the key point, is where I would argue with the race director. If I was a team manager of Honda, I'd certainly be going, hey guys, look, here's the rule, and here's what happened. Tell me, was it an unfair advantage because the guy already fell down after I got off the track? Interesting, right? I know semantics, and what we're really going to say here is that that's just racing, and that he really didn't gain that advantage. But you know what? It never hurts to try. If you're at work or whatever and you're needing some time off or you want a raise, you got to ask, right? And if your job is to try to get your riders to get the most points possible, well, you got to bring it up and say, rule book here, this is here. Yeah, it more or less, I'm not going to get anywhere, but I'm going to try. I'm absolutely going to freaking try. Joe Shimoda, I kind of think the kid was having better luck on pro circuit, and maybe he should be, I don't know, is he injured? Is there something else going on? Is he not gelling with the bike? Because there's just so many mistakes happening. Granted, every race has been so different as far as demanding. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think in those comments as well, but I'm going to take a small little break here to talk about the video sponsor of Precision Transport. These guys help out riders. If you need to move a heavy load, if you have dry vans, or if you have reefer stuff that's refrigerator, or if you have any sort of connections with freight forwarding companies, this guy's the dude that you want to talk to because he helps riders out. And in this community, that's what we do. We help each other out. His number is 877-827-0618, precisiontransport.com. Make sure you check them out if you got anything you need moved across country, whatnot. Smith, he's incredibly consistent. He's not that good for, I would say, social media and promoting stuff because he's just there. He's just there. RJ's much more exciting because he's going to be out front jumping off the track and just getting stopped and stuck because that's what the mud was. I personally think that the mud was way heavier this weekend just because the rain wasn't washing it off the bikes. And Levi, with him being sick, I thought that that was an opportunity for him to just let all the ego go away because motorcycle racing is all ego. It's very much ego. Very much ego. And you know why we know it's very much ego? Because look what freaking happened at the end of the track with... I don't know why this is so funny, but with Anderson putting hands on Jett Lawrence, but Jett did the diplomat thing where he didn't retaliate back. But honestly, Jett was asking for it by coming up to Jason and being like, hey, what the heck, dude? You know, he should have just left it as is and then just go talk behind his back in the pits, which was what every other rider does, right? Is you already beat him, you passed him. Yeah, he slowed you down, but you beat him. That's the biggest ego thing right there is you got around him. Because usually how you intimidate and impress people is you say less. That's not something that I do because I'm a effing talker. So it's not what, that's why I married a woman that is very, very, she intimidates the hell out of me. So anyway, I digress. I'm talking about the 250s here before we end up going. Levi, he had that opportunity to just, oh, I'm sick. Whatever happens, happens. But this is a track that you don't push on because as soon as you push, you end up hitting the dirt and going down. And that's pretty much what happened with Levi as he was pressuring RJ. And unfortunately, the race just got away from him, even though he ended up finishing 5th and actually beating RJ because RJ threw it away again. He threw it away again. Man, over there at Husky, I get it that when Marchbanks was out there, you're going, he can't pass me because this is a Club MX team. This is not a factory team. This is a semi-privateer team that has some factory support to it. That is something where that's the ego, where you need to get back around that guy. And personally, I think Marchbanks, hey, Tim, appreciate it, buddy. Hit that subscribe button. Lost my train of thought here. Factory Husky. You don't want a semi-factory team to beat you. And Marchbanks, he almost looked like he got brake checked by Jorgensen as well because he comes around the finish line corner and just almost stops, right? But I think it was because he wasn't going to double out. And Marchbanks was sort of at fault because he was following, but Jorgensen was in the race line. So, yeah, those are the blue flag things. So, that's why with these implementation of the lights, okay, why not have the riders that are not out front, that are getting ready to get lapped, turn their lights blue or something? Do a different color so that they know, hey, the leaders are coming up. You need to get the hell out of the way. I've got a lot more commentary on that because over my podcast we've talked a lot about like maybe come lap 15 minutes into the race, that's when you start having, if you've been lapped, those lights turn on and you're off the track so this shit doesn't happen, so we can actually watch the riders out front actually race, but you're not really getting in the way of the races of those guys because if we made a rule, if Supercross made a rule where lappers, as soon as you got lapped, you got off the track, well, that's a bummer because most of those guys need to make a paycheck and they might need 20 laps to pass 3 or 4 people, even though they're lappers, but that's going to be a $500 to potentially $1,000 or more increase in pay, right? In the paycheck. So maybe there needs to be talk of something where once 15 laps get by or we hit like 18 minutes or something, then boom, lappers, they have to get off the track. That's where you finish. That's what transponders are for. But it's not a very popular opinion with something like that. But how many times do races get ruined by lappers, right? No disrespect to lappers, because by all means, I was all but a lapper. And that was the best that I could have dreamed of, is I put my little baby head down after my brownies, and I just wish I just get lapped. I just have dreams of being lapped. And then when I got lapped by Roxon or something, I'm like, man, that guy was going freaking fast. Like, I didn't even know you could go through a quarter that fast, right? But my point is, maybe there should be some sort of a change to that, which would be cool. And I don't know if these guys are playing the game here with the subscribe button or not, because it's happened before. Or if you've just been subscribing, I am sorry for disrespecting you by not. Okay, I've been seeing different names up here. So different names, by all means, sweet. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. I got so much content planned, and I am so freaking stoked. It's got to be the Liquid Death. It's getting to my head. AP is redemption for the Cowboy. And what he said as far as everyone has to now chase him is awesome. He's got the red plate too now. Man, Roger DeCoster has got to be super, super stoked, because he's got both of his riders that have won. Crazy how much mix-up is going on with this Supercross season is freaking intense. And for this race, one of the things I noticed is, did you notice nobody had roll-offs? They just had simple deal. And there's some other stuff that I don't really want to give away, because I've got so much planned here that you got to subscribe and wait for this week's video as far as the analyzing going. I pretty much blabbed as much as I want to blab, besides the press day stuff with Jett getting hurt doing that quad. Though in A1, what happened to his brother? His brother crashed in press day. And now you've got Jett crashing hard case in a quad in press day. And I know I've made the argument that like press day is not there for practice, but it is what it is, right? It does no good for me to bitch and moan about press day, because it is cool to see these riders bust out these giant things and, yeah, use it as practice. We saw AP, or at least the announcers, say that AP was the guy that was out there the longest during press day, because they are... My point is they are using it as practice. And as a viewer, as a fan, not as a rider, I want to see them have as much time on the track as possible, because it just means that I'm going to see better racing and faster racing. And dude, the pass, right? The pass in the heat race where Jett goes past 4 guys through the whoops. Amazing. And then what happened the next lap around? Well, I will give it away. I will give a tidbit away of what my videos are going to be about this coming week. It was, he got a little cross-rutted and did this because the whoops are jacked up, but these riders are fast. If you can stay on top of it a little bit, you're going to make it to the point where you can just stay above all the gnarly stuff. Because in the whoops, right, as you're jumping through them, you're creating ruts, but the first top couple inches, those suckers are going to be clean. So that's what freaking Jett did, is he ran through and got on top of him and was able to get all by him. But what I disagree with what the announcers say versus what I saw is, you know how he crashed? He crashed the next couple laps was because his tires were packed with mud. The first lap, his tires were free of mud. They were clear knobbies that had the most grip. Last couple laps, they're all filled, and it's just a giant slick at that point. So it's going to slick off here, because guess what? Nobody else was starting to skim the whoops after that, until maybe a little bit in the main event once they started to dry out and become hard. But that is pretty much it, guys. So, hey, for all the 2,000 people that decided to keep me up this night on Friday the 20th, can't believe it's almost freaking February now. Wow, and we've got 14 more races. How blessed are we that we get to see the best riders in the world go race 14 more races, and all the highs and lows that are happening in both the 250 and 450. Woo, something freaking special. So let's go watch the press conference. And hey, I will catch you guys this week. Appreciate every single one of you. As always, keep it WFO. Barrage.